Good morning. Welcome to Math Today. Today your review is over addition and subtraction, which I don't expect that to be super hard. It's a good review though. Sometimes we easily forget some of the small things. So we will review that today. But the second part of your review will be addition and subtraction word problems or story problems. So that is what we will focus on today. So we will figure out what the word problem is asking of us. We'll mark it up the way I've showed you. And then we will do the addition or subtraction that the problem requires. All right, so if you don't have a whiteboard or marker ready like I've asked, make sure you pause the video and go grab that. And we will start with number 1 here. All right, so I wrote this problem. I'm not actually going to a friend's house. I wish I could. Soon, I hope. Mrs. Hare wants to drive to her friend's house. That is 483 miles away. If she can drive 198 miles today, how many miles will she have to drive tomorrow? Okay, now we don't know what operation to use, right? When you see a word problem, you can either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So before we decide, why don't we mark up our problem and find our important information? Okay, so it is important, I think, to know that total, I need to drive 483 miles. Okay, I'm underlining that. That's important. You should always do this. All right. I also believe it's probably important to know that today I could drive 198 miles. And then my question, which we know we always put our question in the box. How many miles will she have to drive tomorrow? So let's put our question in the box so we don't forget what we are answering. How many miles will she have to drive tomorrow? All right. Well, I don't see any key words that tell me for sure that I'm going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. So I'm just going to think it through. Okay, sometimes it helps to draw a picture. So let's say this dot is Mrs. Hare's house. Okay, my friend, I'm going to make it a straight line just for simplicity. This is my friend's house. So total, we know the length of this line has to be 483 miles, right? So this entire piece is 483 miles. Now, that one day, the first day, I could drive 198 miles. So let's just mark here and say this is 198. Okay? So if I've covered this much ground, my question then, how far do I have to go the second day? So if the whole distance is 483 and the first chunk I did was 198, how do I figure out how far I drove the second day? If you were in class, we'd be having a great discussion right now. I hope you're thinking it through. But in order to find this missing piece, we can take our total miles and subtract what we've already covered. All right, so that is what we need to do. So I'm going to squeeze that in right up here. So we had 483 miles total. And I can take out what I've already covered, 198 miles. So we subtract. Just a friendly reminder, anytime you're doing math, it's so important you keep your place values lined up, okay? To make sure your ones place is with your ones, your tens, and your hundreds. They have to match up. Now when you subtract, if you have a smaller value in the top than in the bottom, you have to borrow. I know we all remember this. So I'm going to move over to my next bigger column, borrow from my 8. I'm going to turn that into a 7. Okay, and my 3 will become a 13. If you like to cross this out and write a 13 above it, that is fine. Okay, we all have learned it different ways. So now 13 minus 8 I can do, and I will give you a moment to try that on your board. Hopefully you've all come up with the answer 5. Right, and now we've got 7 minus 9. Again, we cannot do that, so we must borrow from our hundreds place. Our 4 will become a 3, and we will make that 7 a 17. So now, 17 minus 9 is 8. 3 minus 1 is 2. So 285. On a word problem, you should always be able to tell me your label. And if you have trouble with that, reread your question. How many miles will she have to drive tomorrow? She will have to drive 285 miles tomorrow. All right. Nice job on the first one. We're going to try one more. I've already got it up here ready to go. So I will shift my paper. All right. Let me erase what we can see here sticking out. All right. Our second problem says, Lizzie, which I use the word Lizzie because that's my niece's name, my oldest niece, that's a girl. Lizzie made 386 jokes on Saturday. She made 192 jokes on Sunday. How many jokes did she make during the weekend? Okay, well, we know a weekend is what? Saturday and Sunday, right? So Saturday's jokes. How many did she make Saturday?
Rachel, if you're here in the building, can you come to the office, please? And then after Rachel comes to the office, certain aides can go home. Not all of you. I'm just kidding. If you're done with your work for the day, you guys can head out.
Okay, sorry about that. So on Saturday, in our problem, it said she made 386 jokes. On Sunday, she made 192 jokes. Sometimes it helps to just write your information out like that. So our question then, how many jokes did she make during the weekend? Okay, well, the weekend is Saturday and Sunday, right? Sometimes problems do this to you. They'll say something about how many in the week. So you have to know that during a week there's 7 days, right? But over the weekend, we just have these 2 days. So if you were in class, I'd be asking you right now, what math operation do you think we need to use to find the total amount of jokes? And since we just have 2 groups of jokes from 2 different days, we can add them together, right? So we are going to add 386 plus 192. Same thing with subtraction. You need to make sure your place values always line up. And remember, if you end up down here with a value larger than 9, you have to carry to your next place value. So 6 plus 2 is 8. Make sure you're working this with me. 8 plus 9 is 17. So I carry my 1, drop my 7 below. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 more would be 5. So, return to your question to figure out your label. How many jokes did she make during the weekend? She made 578 jokes. All right, so for a perfect answer, you'd want to put a label here. It's a lot of joking. She does like to joke. All right, hopefully this will help you on your practice. Just make sure you do your best work. Don't go too fast. You should always write your work out on scrap paper or your whiteboard before you put your answers in, okay? So if you have any questions, please let me know. So that way when we move on, we'll all be really good and solid in our addition and subtraction, okay? All right, have a great day.